The 2005 film Water by Deepa Mehta is a riveting film that tells the tale of a young girl living in British India during the uprising of Gandhi and the exodus of the British. The movie starts out with us being told that the Veda scriptures called for three actions that are to be invoked once a woman has attained widow status. They are marry the younger brother, burn along with the dead husband, or lead a life of self-denial. Remarriage was not an option, as it was considered a social taboo. However, a social norm during this period was in fact child marriages. This introduces us to one of four main protagonists, Churiya. Churiya is a young, vibrant, confused 8-year-old living in 1938 British India. Having her husband just recently die, she is being sent to an ashram, a holy temple, to live out the rest of her days in self-denial. After being shaved bald ceremoniously, she starts out her life at the widow's ashram. As the days progress, she is often scolded by the other widows, as she does not like or conform to the rules of the ashram and Indian society, questioning what was not meant to be questioned. For example, when a priest or pandit came to read the holy scriptures, Churiya questioned as she did not understand them and was scolded by the rest of the widows. It is here that she meets and befriends Kalyani, a beautiful young widow living at the ashram with her dog Kala. Kalyani is also the second out of four protagonists to be in the storyline. Kalyani is one of the youngest widows living there and Churiya's first friend in the ashram. Kalyani, played by Canada's own Lisa Ray, is a young woman with warm eyes and a caring heart. She soon starts to act as a caregiver and almost like a mother figure for the young Churiya. One day, as Churiya was playing with Kala, the dog ran off and was picked up by Narayan, a young disciple of Gandhi. Narayan, along with Churiya, returns Kala to Kalyani, and the two strike a match completely. However, they cannot be, as Kalyani has a dark secret. She is the source of income for the ashram and is prostituted by a hijra, a man who thinks and dresses like a female, named Gulabi. This dark secret ultimately culminates in the drowning of her in the river. The third protagonist is Narayan, a young, handsome man who is studious and philosophical. Like many young Indians at the time, he was captivated by the words Mahatma Gandhi spoke and his idea of an India that was not suppressed by British rule. This love of Gandhi creates tensions in his family, especially between his mother and himself. He then falls in love with the beautiful Kalyani, and they plan to start a life together. However, as the truth of Kalyani's past is revealed, this disgusts Narayan. He goes to seek out his father, as Kalyani had slept with his father. He then tells her why she had a change of heart, and Narayan goes to seek out Kalyani in order to undo his wrongs. However, he ultimately finds out she is dead. He then goes to the train station, joining Mahatma Gandhi and the rest of the followers, as they are to depart the next morning. In the final scenes, we see more of a character that was minimally seen in the beginning of the film, named Shakuntala. She again was a young widow, but however, she had a rare ability that separated her from the rest of the widows in the ashram. This ability was the ability to read. Most widows could not read, but Shakuntala could, meaning she was more well-versed than the other widows. She befriended Churiya, helping and comfort her when Churiya needed the most, allowing her to earn the nickname of Didi or sister. Shakuntala was there for Churiya up until the very end. When Kalyani had passed away due to her dark secret ruining her future with Narayan, Gulabi turned to the one who ruined the business, Churiya. As Kalyani had one last client before she passed, Churiya was to go offer services up to him. Shakuntala, learning of this, ran to stop it but was too late. Churiya had returned, crippled mentally from the abuse she had just experienced. Shakuntala, wandering the city with the crying child in her arms, heard the announcement of Gandhi being at the train station. Hearing this, Shakuntala ran to the train station. Seeing Narayan amongst the throngs of people, she gave Churiya up to him, hoping for a better future for Churiya than what would have been if she had stayed at the ashram. The movie Water can be analyzed through a post-colonialist lens, as the movie takes place in colonial India. We can see the effects the time period has on the movie and its characters. For example, Narayan is a devout follower of Gandhi, and that Gandhi is a centralized figure that is mentioned throughout the duration of the film. We can see the effects colonial India had on the people of its time. During British rule, both Muslims and Hindus were suppressed, and that people were only governed by Hindu law only. At this time, Gandhi rose, not seeking power, but a new future for India. This is a driving force for Narayan, and it is an emotional wedge between him and his mother. As well, the holy scriptures such as the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas dictated the entirety of Indian culture, how it functioned, and how its citizens functioned as well. The film can also be analyzed through an existentialist lens because Churiya creates her own fate instead of the destiny that the world or society has assigned her. In the Hindu populated parts, it has been said by the Manu Smriti that once a woman has been married and her husband has died whilst she remains alive, the widow must be transferred to an ashram where they will live out a life of duty to the Hindu gods. They all live day by day, only in the company of the other widows, surrounded by solace, confliction, and desire of what they want and whether or not they should fulfill the destiny that has been laid upon them, which is to serve the ashram. As well, Shakuntala had started out as an average widow. She went about her days, doing her duties to her lords and serving the ashram in which she lived. As time progressed, however, she became more curious on whether or not this destiny was right for her. She became conflicted between her duties and desire, but ultimately decides to give in to the desire, but through the action of helping Churiya. I had connected with this film on many different levels. On a superficial level, I descend from an Indian heritage, and many of the occurrences in the film became personal for me. For example, Narayan's mother would not allow him to marry a widow as it was considered a taboo in that society, in that place, and that time. Marrying a widow often was a downgrade in status. Growing up for me, I had often seen many Indian women, especially elderly ones, become obsessed about their appearance and statuses in the community from which I hail. Social taboos and expectations in the film often tear families apart, as seen in the case of Narayan and his parents. The same can be said about me in my life, as body jewelry and tattoos are looked upon as a social taboo in my culture. Another example of this is that Kalyani was never given a fair chance due to her status in the ashram. Many of the other widows did not look at her fairly or treat her fairly, and she was even forced to eat in her own room. I can relate because I come from a mixed heritage. Most people automatically assume I am one or the other, but they never give me a fair chance. As well, Indians in Western society are often portrayed as dirty and disgusting, or running a 7-Eleven and taxicab services. As like I, Churiya wants to respect the power of tradition, but at the same time has a forward thinking and the innocence of a child. Much like I am bounded by both my traditional duties to my faith, and I still retain a secular way of thinking, creating tension for myself. This also happens to Churiya and Shakuntala, as they are both conflicted in the way they make their actions and the way they conduct their duties. Many icons appear during the duration of the film. Two in particular are of interest and focus. The first is the ashrams. Ashrams are an icon because they represent the basis of Hindu teachings and culture. Ashrams, translated as holy temples, were places of serenity and peace, often used to connect with Brahman, classified as the entire universe. Ashrams were often built in places that were secluded from the rest of society. Often, at these ashrams, a royal advisor stayed there, and when the Hindu kings sought advice, they went to the ashrams. Another icon are the figures of Radha and Krishna. One of the most memorable moments in the film was the scene of Holi. Holi is a festival held in honor to celebrate Radha and Krishna, two gods of the Hindu pantheon. It is an iconic festival as it is a festive, bright, auspicious occasion, and for those who have visited India or seen Indian culture, automatically connect and know what this is. The director of the film uses a numerous amount of juxtapositions to display India in the 1930s and the people's values of the time. As well, it was used to demonstrate the path of Indian culture and the way it was headed due to the uprising popularity of Gandhi. One of the earliest displays of juxtapositions is right when Churiya enters the ashram. She, being the youngest and the modern representation of an Indian woman, cannot fathom as to why she is in the ashram, yet the other women who represent old Indian culture do not question why they are in the ashram. Another usage of juxtapositioning is from Churiya's Didi, Shakuntala character, and the other women in the ashram. The other women are often bitter, lonely, and would rather not talk to Kalyani as her status in the ashram is a prostitute. However, Shakuntala learns to warm to and express desires to help Churiya leave the ashram, unlike the other women who again represent the old style of Indian culture.